The rooftop bar shimmered beneath a lattice of fairy lights, its glass balustrades framing the glittering sweep of Lagos Lagoon. Somewhere below, danfo buses honked through traffic, but up here the air smelled only of imported orchids and quietly expensive colognes. A celebrity DJ bled chilled Afrobeats into the night. Influencers filmed 360-degree selfies. Venture capital partners compared the brightness of their new tourbillons. It was Darren Mensa's 35th birthday, and the event doubled as a soft launch for his IPO dream. Naomi, his wife, arrived alone in an emerald sheath she had sewn herself between insomnia and dawn. The fabric hugged her statuesque frame, yet she felt unfinished, like a grayscale rendering beside the neon couture around her. Mrs. Mensa, Yinka from corporate comms, waved. Try Nija now. Hibiscus, lime, ridiculous gin. Naomi smiled politely, but her mind drifted to tinsel loads and daylighting angles, the language she had shelved when Darren urged her to pause her architecture career until the family vision was stable. A spoon rang against crystal. Darren strode onto a low stage beside a steel firebowl, LED column scrolling his company logo. Family, friends, shareholders, he began, pausing for the practiced laugh. Naomi's stomach tightened as he launched into the origin myth of his rideshare payment app, the late nights, the hacked prototype, the angel who believed. He never mentioned those nights when Naomi debugged code at 3 a.m. or floated him her prize money savings. And of course, Darren said, gaze locking on her, I wouldn't be on this skydeck without my beautiful wife. The crowd parted. 100 phone cameras rotated. He slung an arm over her shoulders, champagne sloshing. Naomi put her little design hobby on hold, so I could chase this crazy dream. Chuckles. If you saw the sketches she leaves on napkins, adorable. But hey, real builders need funding, am I right? Laughter burst, some genuine, some forced. Naomi willed her smile, steady while a hairline crack zigzagged through her composure. Across the terrace, she spotted Lana Adebayo, Darren's assistant, offering a gentle smile that felt oddly triumphant. Darren lifted his glass. To Naomi, the woman patient enough to finish my sentences and finish raising our future board members. Flashes popped. Champagne tasted of solder and smoke. After hours corridor. Moments later, Naomi slipped toward the restroom, hallway lined with magazine covers of Darren. He followed. You were stiff up there, everything okay? He asked. You called my career a hobby. He laughed. Babe, branding. Audiences love self-deprecation. To them, she said, not to me. Can we not do this tonight? Investors are here. He kissed her cheek, already turning away. Her phone buzzed, saw the toast online. Need a getaway, Kofi. Not yet, she typed. Soon. That night, lying beside a snoring Darren, Naomi stared at the ceiling while the fissure inside her widened into a fault line. 2 days later, Naomi stepped into the converted colonial warehouse that housed Darren's headquarters, a glass box temple wrapped in programmable LED strips pulsing company colors. She carried the onyx cufflinks Darren had forgotten. Security greeted her with corporate courtesy. Welcome, Madam Mensa. On the executive level, she paused behind a living wall partition. Lana's laughter spilled from Darren's glass office. Lana perched on his desk, massaging his shoulders while he scrolled a pitch deck. Investors love narrative, Lana purred. You're the disruptor who democratized mobility. That's why you're invaluable, Darren murmured. Naomi entered. Both jolted apart. Naomi, what a nice surprise, Darren said too brightly. Your cufflinks. She offered the box. Lifesaver. He hugged her perfunctorily and returned to the screen. Lana smoothed her dove-gray jumpsuit. A slim jade bracelet glinted on her wrist. Innovators never rest, Lana said. Mrs. Mensa, emerald looks stunning on you. Naomi's gaze lingered on the bracelet. Back in the elevator, her phone pinged. Permit drawings are in. Reserve studio space. Kofi, she typed. Tonight. In the lobby, a 4-story LED ticker displayed Darren's face beside the slogan Life. In motion. Pixels blurred as Naomi walked into sunshine, a new floor plan taking shape in her mind. Evening buka. Yaba Naomi and Kofi shared umla under humming fluorescence. He humiliated you. Kofi's jaw tightened. He doesn't even know he did. To him it was branding. Then it's time you rebrand yourself. Naomi unrolled a sketch. Interlocking triangular modules forming a courtyard. Modular shelter units, cheap, climate responsive, expandable. I'll source bamboo composites, Kofi said. And a videographer. We'll document everything. They bumped fists, the first brick laid. Rain sheeted the windshield as Naomi waited curbside for Darren. When he finally emerged, he tucked the umbrella over Lana jogging to a taxi. Naomi's breath shallowed. Darren climbed in, sandalwood and an unfamiliar floral perfume drifting with him. A jade glint caught headlight glare on the floor mat. Naomi scooped it up at a red light. A bracelet, twin to Lana's, clasp bent. This yours? Oh, that's Lana's, he said. She's hopeless with jewelry. Remind me to buy her a new one. Buy her a new one. Casual, thoughtless, proprietary. At home, Naomi set the bracelet on the counter like evidence. Darren didn't notice. That night thunder rattled the penthouse. She rolled out tracing paper beneath candlelight. Scratch of 2H pencil a heartbeat. She mapped airflow, designed rain harvesting gutters, drafted bamboo ribs slotting into recycled steel joints. Each confident stroke erased Darren's earlier sneer. By 3 a.m., an entire village sprawled across Vellum. Lightning cracked over the lagoon. Naomi felt electrically alive. Later, as Darren flicked channels on the sofa, Naomi stood behind him. Remember when architecture excited you? She asked quietly. It still does, innovation. He kept watching. But money builds faster. Naomi said nothing. Some structures, she realized, can't be renovated. They must be demolished. Thursday's humidity wrapped Lagos like plastic. Sorting utility bills, Naomi saw a new email. Reservation. Alair rooftop, 8 p.m. Table for 2, Darren Mensa. Her heart pounded. Alair was the sky garden he'd promised to revisit when the millions feel real. He never had. She dressed in spy-neutral charcoal trench, wide hat, oversized glasses. At 7:30, she parked opposite the bamboolet entrance. Lanterns floated above terrace seating draped in bougainvillea. Claiming she was scouting venues, she slipped inside. Darren sat by the window, Lana opposite in midnight blue silk. Candlelight gilded them. Everything was perfect at the party, Lana whispered. But I hated keeping my smile small. Soon, Darren said, capturing her hand. I need investors calm until after the IPO roadshow. A waiter lifted a domed platter, a rose gold engagement ring beside a passion fruit millefeuille. Lana gasped. Naomi's breath hitched. She backed into a vine-wrapped trellis. A champagne flute crashed. Heads turned. She muttered an apology and fled into the humid night, nausea swirling into fury. Across the street she voice recorded, demolish illusions, rebuild truth, then drove to the warehouse studio where Kofi waited. Inside the bare bulb cavern they unfurled sketches. The city needs refuge, not more penthouses, Naomi said. Then let's build a prototype before anyone can say it's impossible, Kofi replied. Sawdust floated in cones of light as they marked lumber orders and filmed time-lapse shots for a pitch video. Particles of a future rising from fresh foundations. Sleep never came. Naomi paced the kitchen island, blueprint rolls unfurled. Dawn seeped through blinds. Darren shuffled in, humming an Afro-pop hook. Early breakfast architecting, he joked. She poured coffee. He showered, leaving his iPad on the marble. A blue banner slid across. Lana couldn't sleep after that proposal. My fiancé. My forever. Selfie. Lana in satin sheets, ring blazing. The iPad remained unlocked. Naomi's finger hesitated, then tapped. Threads opened. Crude jokes about Naomi's domestic goddess brand. Jokes about announcing the divorce at the IPO party. Screenshots of offshore accounts. She photographed everything. A door creaked. She flipped the tablet over, heart racing but face serene. Big investor call, Darren said, adjusting cufflinks. Pray for me. Break a leg, she replied. Elevator doors closed. Naomi exhaled, adrenaline hardened into steel. Rolling her blueprints into a leather tube, she dialed her brother. "Co, it's me. You sound decisive. Meet me at the old studio in an hour. Bring the GoPro and the drone. If Darren loves optics, we'll give him the view of his life." Before leaving, she fired off an email to the National Future Build competition. Attachments: rendering stamped Naomi Gray. Deadline 9 a.m. She hit send at 8:46. At 9:03, she met Kofi on the studio rooftop. Harmattan haze turned the city gold. "I submitted," she said, breathless. "We'll know finalists next week," he grinned. The drone lifted, framing Naomi against the skyline Darren craved. "My name is Naomi Gray," she told the lens, voice steady. "I design spaces that remind people they deserve safety." Wind whipped her braids as the drone ascended. For the first time in years, Naomi felt the city bow toward her. She smiled, wide, unbreakable, because the blueprint of her new life was already under construction. Harmattan dust still hung in the morning light when Naomi parked outside her parents' duplex in Suralere. Her mother, Mama Sua, whose uncle, a rapper, told a 50-year story of quiet endurance, opened the door with a worried crease in her brow. "Mama Sua, you look thinner, my child. Where is Darren?" "Naomi, busy building his image, Mama. I need to talk to all of you." In the living room, Kofi leaned against their father's old mahogany bookcase, arms folded. Aunt Folake, the family's unfiltered auntie, slipped off her glasses when Naomi unrolled the blueprint renderings. "Naomi, these are modular shelters, rot-resistant bamboo ribs, recycled steel spines, passive cooling. I just entered them in the Future Build competition under a pseudonym." Papa bowed. "Under another name? Why hide your own?" "Naomi, so the judges see the work, not Darren's surname." Silence stretched, thick as the dust. Finally, Mama Sua placed a weathered hand over Naomi's sketches. "Mama Sua, I watched my dreams shrink to fit your father's expectations. If you feel fire, don't let any man smother it." Naomi swallowed a lump. Kofi thumped the table for emphasis. "Kofi, the prototype cost is high, but I've been saving for my drone gigs. I'll match any naira you put in." Aunt Folake, "A beg, I'll sponsor 2 roof panels so I can brag at church when you win." They laughed, a sound Naomi hadn't made in weeks. She left the duplex with a fuller heart and 3 plastic coolers of jollof to feed the night shift volunteers at the warehouse. For the first time, her family wasn't a silent audience. They were the chorus pushing her toward center stage. The warehouse studio became a hive. Welders clanged late into the night. Kofi's camera captured sparks tracing constellations in the gloom. A 3D printer spat out scale model joints while Naomi paced between sawhorses. Midweek, a delivery truck brought bamboo composite donated by an NGO impressed by Naomi's guerrilla pitch on Instagram. The driver, a barrel-chested man with tri-blink sleeves, grinned. "Driver, you're the shelter architect? My sister fled a bad marriage. She sleeps in a church hall now. Build this fast, a beg." Naomi's throat tightened. She signed the manifest and hefted planks alongside volunteers. Lana's jade bracelet flashed like a stop signal in her pocket, reminding her why she couldn't fail. That night, over instant noodles balanced on blueprint tubes, Kofi played drone footage on a projector. Rising frames outlined against the moon, Naomi's voice over chanting hope. She cringed at hearing herself. A courier arrived at the warehouse with a cream envelope sealed in wax. Inside, Zenith Future Build Gala. Finalist Naomi Gray plus guest. Dress code, beyond black tie. Kofi whistled. "Beyond black tie means they expect Wakanda on a runway," he joked. Naomi's grin faltered. She owned precisely one formal gown, the emerald sheath still haunted by Darren's laugh. "Volunteer, Zara. Let me build you armor." Zara sketched on a paper offcut, a gown of deep matte graphite, architectural pleats unfurling like shelter panels. A sapphire glass harness at the bodice arranged in geometric tessellation. "Naomi, it's beautiful but beyond our budget." "Zara, I'll source remnants and offcuts." "The bodice frame?" "Repurpose structural glass from our module prototypes." You'll literally wear the project. They worked until dawn, draping muslin, fusing seams. Naomi nursed burnt fingertips but felt invincible. Meanwhile, Kofi uploaded the full construction video. Within hours it trended on Naija Talk, outperforming Darren's sponsored hashtag Life in Motion, hashtag by 60K views. Across town, Darren paced his boardroom. PR team refreshing analytics. PR exec. Sir, a viral architecture account is siphoning your engagement. Darren, architecture? Nobody outside TED Talks cares. PR exec, 500,000 do. Mostly women, Gen Z, future investors. Darren's jaw ticked. Find out who's behind it. Gala night. The landmark convention center glittered with 10-meter light columns. Rolls Royces idled like crouching beasts. Inside, Naomi waited in a service corridor while Zara adjusted the graphite pleats that echoed shelter roofs. The sapphire glass harness caught every stray photon, scattering blue shards over the walls. Zara, you look like the future. Naomi, we are the future. On cue. Doors opened to a sea of crystal chandeliers and drone cameras. Darren, in a steel gray tux, stood near a step-and-repeat with Lana, now flaunting an engagement ring the size of a pigeon egg. His smirk froze as Naomi emerged. A hush rippled across the hall. Whispers, is that Naomi Mensah? No, Naomi Gray. She's the shelter architect finalist. Darren advanced, plastering a public grin. Darling, you look. Words died as he registered the glass harness, laser-etched with Shelter Pod 001. Was it mockery? Branding? He couldn't parse. Darren, you hijacked my investors' event? Naomi, I earned my place. Try wearing your IPO on your chest. See how heavy purpose feels. Before he could retort, a stagehand guided finalists backstage. Naomi inhaled, sensing Lana's stare puncturing her back. Moments later, from behind velvet drapes, Naomi peered out. The audience was a constellation of wealth, CEOs, ministers, the Tech West Africa editor with a notepad poised. She touched the sapphire harness, felt the cool glass connect her to every bolt in the prototype shelter. If she nailed this pitch, mothers might sleep behind locking doors next season. And Darren would watch his little hobby reshape skylines. Lights dimmed. Her name boomed through the hall. Naomi Gray stepped onto the stage, heartbeat sinking to the mixed thump, graphite gown sweeping a path like freshly poured concrete. She began not with data, but with a story. Naomi, 2 weeks ago, a driver delivered bamboo to a warehouse at midnight. He told me his sister fled a violent home. Tonight, she is sleeping on a church floor. That is why I design. Screens behind her lit with the time-lapse video. Welders sparking, volunteers tightening bolts, children giggling during a site tour. Gasps filled the hall. A single spotlight haloed Naomi as she stretched her hand toward the render of the finished courtyard. Naomi, safety is not charity, it's infrastructure. Thunderous applause. Naomi allowed a 5-second beat, Kofi's editing trick, before her closer. Naomi. And like every true shelter, this design is modular. Tonight I invite you to add a panel, anchor a beam, sponsor a door. Together we'll build a city that doesn't force anyone to choose between dignity and survival. The hall rose in a standing ovation. As house lights brightened, Darren stood frozen, caught between clapping and collapse. Cameras panned to Lana. Her smile twitched, uncertain. Backstage, Naomi exhaled and turned to find a silver-haired woman in a power suit. Zenith CEO waiting. CEO, Ms. Gray, we need to talk about scaling this globally. Naomi's eyes widened, hope popping like fireworks. But above the applause, she heard Darren's voice bark her name. She pivoted, shoulders square, just as Darren pushed past security. Cut to black. Spotlight still roamed the ceiling when security intercepted Darren. Naomi stepped forward, voice calm but amplified by the standing ovation still humming through the hall. Naomi, thank you, Zenith Foundation, for believing that safe space is the root of every other ambition. I'm honored to accept your Architect of Impact award. She lifted the sculpted glass trophy. Cameras flashed. Zenith CEO Ikayat Okon guided her toward a roped-off lounge where press waited. Behind them, Darren blustered to a stagehand. "Darren, that's my wife, my PR property. I demand equal airtime." "Stagehand, get in line, sir." Inside the lounge, Miss Okon whispered. "Okon, your pitch unlocked a 500 million seed grant, but the board will vet your governance. We also need to confirm your legal name." Naomi. Naomi Mensah on paper, but the world is meeting Naomi Gray tonight. "Okon, then Gray it is, if that's who designs futures." An assistant slid a non-disclosure across a glass table. Naomi's pen hovered. She glimpsed her reflection in the graphite folds of her gown and felt something snap into focus. Darren could no longer define the boundaries of her life. She signed. In that moment, an auditorium screen behind her replayed her highlight reel. The camera panned to Darren lingering by the velvet rope, face caught between rage and disbelief. "Kofi, sis, the internet just broke. Hashtag Naomi Gray is top trend across Africa." Naomi good. Foundations are laid in public now. Miss Okon handed her a guestaphoner lanyard for the after party. "Wear it. No one can unlock a door you've already walked through." The after party unfurled in the rooftop garden, the same skyline Darren once used to measure worth. Naomi emerged from an elevator flanked by Kofi and Zara. Drone cameras hovered above LED ice sculptures depicting her modular shelter. Gasps rippled. Conversations paused mid-sip. A corridor of curious stairs parted, guiding her toward a raised dais where a jazz quartet dipped into Afro soul. She felt the weight of the lanyard, the glass trophy, and centuries of women told to walk small, and chose the opposite. Across the terrace, Darren's entourage, board members, bro investors, clustered near the champagne bar. Lana fixed her ring-heavy hand on Darren's arm. "Lana, optics. Smile. Congratulate her. Take the narrative back." "Darren, narrative? She owes me the narrative." Naomi reached the center. Spotlights pivoted as if choreographed. Interviewers thrust mics forward. Journalist number 1. "Mrs. Mensah, or Ms. Gray, did you expect to dominate the gala?" Naomi: "I expected to dominate shelter site logistics tomorrow at 6 a.m. This is a surprise." Laughter, clicks, more questions. Then Darren finally approached. Broadcaster grin welded in place. "Darren, congratulations, darling. We're so proud." Naomi: "You're 3 pronouns short of authenticity, Darren." His smile twitched. He leaned in. "Darren, end this gray charade. Come home. We'll spin it. Power couple narrative." Naomi: "Home is anywhere integrity lives." "Excuse me, investors await." She pivoted. The quartet slid into a triumphant horn riff. Clement, Darren's largest shareholder, peeled away from him to shake Naomi's hand. "Clement, your shelters echo geodesic principles. Ever consider licensing?" Naomi: "Licensing, yes. Exploitation, no. Let's meet Monday." Darren watched, color draining as Naomi collected allies like magnets. Suddenly a push notification pinged every phone. Breaking. Viral architect Naomi Gray confirmed married to tech mogul Darren Mensah. Sources reveal possible affair with assistant. Lana's face blanched. Darren spun toward her, but a second alert chimed. Alleged engagement of Mensah and Adebayo contradicts ongoing marriage. Telephoto lenses swarmed. Naomi opened her mouth and closed it. No need to speak. Truth had legs. Instead, she lifted her trophy and toasted the skyline. Kofi zoomed in, streaming live. When integrity walks, deceit trips. Midnight. The gala's gold lighting flickered as comms team scrambled. Zenith PR herded Naomi to a quieter mezzanine where panoramic glass overlooked the city. Rain began to mist. Streetlights diffused into soft halos. Naomi's phone buzzed nonstop. Congratulatory DMs, media invites, offers of pro bono legal aid. She skimmed one message flagged urgent from Darren's chief counsel. Per prenup clause 9, public defamation affects spousal equity. Cease commentary within 24 hours or face injunction. She laughed. Kofi grimaced. Kofi, He's lawyering emotional damage. Naomi, dear counsel, screenshots attached of mistress engagement. Consider countersuit grounds. Send. Below. Darren commandeered the stage's PA system. Darren, friends, mistakes were made tonight. Let's remember what unites us. Innovation. His speech meandered, voice cracking. He spotted Naomi on the mezzanine and pointed. Darren, Naomi, join me. Show them our bond. Cameras swiveled. Naomi edged forward on the balcony, letting people believe she might comply. The hall hushed. Naomi. Bonds built on silence rust. She turned her back to him, an image that would front page tomorrow. Gasps exploded into chatter. Darren's grip whitened around the microphone. Then words failed altogether. Upstairs, Miss Okon approached, impressed. Okon, I've watched men lead with volume. I'd rather fund women who lead with velocity. Naomi, then let's accelerate. Okon, full proposal by Friday. 6 shelter hubs across West Africa. Naomi nodded, adrenaline flooding. Kofi fist pumped. Down below, Darren finally froze, literally immobile, until Lana tugged him off stage and into PR triage. Next morning, hashtags multiplied. Hashtag Grey Matter Shelters. Hashtag Mensa Meltdown. Hashtag Lanagate. Darren frantically convened a crisis Zoom with his ride-or-die circle, Bola the VC, Fola the influencer, Haruna the club mogul. Darren, you'll issue statements supporting me. Bolu, bro, LPs to test scandals. Fola, my brand is women empowerment. Can't side with rumored infidelity. Haruna, nightlife thrives on headlines, but this one's bad for bottle sales. Within 10 minutes, they exited the call, citing signal issues. Darren hurled a whiskey tumbler, shards sprayed across marble. Meanwhile, at the warehouse, Naomi faced her own avalanche. Reporters camped by the gates, donors requesting site tours, engineers volunteering. Zara set up a war room whiteboard. Tasks before Tuesday. Bullets. Legal procurement. Comms. Mental health hotline for staff. Mama Sua arrived bearing coolers of pepper soup. She tied an apron and commandeered the break area. Mama Sua. Genius runs on good broth. Later, Naomi entered a pop-up conference room where a dozen women, lawyers, grant writers, structural engineers, waited. Lawyer Chinyu, we'll process the Zenith grant, but we also pro bono divorce counsel. Naomi, then let's end 2 toxic structures, substandard housing and an unequal marriage. At dusk, Kofi screened social metrics. Naomi's shelter video had eclipsed Darren's IPO teaser by 4 million views. Volunteers erupted into a celebratory dance. Naomi joined, laughing under string lights until phone battery died. Across town, Darren scrolled hate comments beneath his pinned tweet. She paused her career for you? How 1990s. He tried calling Clement, the big shareholder, no answer. He tried Fola, voicemail. He flung the phone, but the screen remained cruelly intact, reflecting a man suddenly irrelevant. 2 weeks later, Sunrise painted the prototype site, an unused municipal lot, copper and rose. Media drones hovered. A makeshift stage faced the shimmering framework of 8 completed shelter pods, roofs angled like origami wings. Children chased one another through the courtyards. Mothers tested the lockable doors, tears gleaming. Naomi adjusted a hard hat over cornrows woven with cobalt thread. Ms. Okon arrived in flat boots, followed by city councilors and a throng of live streamers. Darren's presence was rumored but unconfirmed. Ms. Okon, ready to cut history? Naomi, ready to open it. She invited Mama Sua, 2 former domestic violence survivors, and the bamboo truck driver's sister, now site cook, to the ribbon. The crowd counted down 3, 2, 1 snip. Cheering erupted. Naomi guided guests through the airy interiors, solar lanterns, compost toilets, patterned ventilation blocks that cooled like lattice skins. A muralist painted bold Nsibidi symbols across a courtyard wall. We are safe. Outside, the fence reporters jostled. One captured Darren lurking by a black SUV, eyes rimmed red. The image splashed across social minutes later. Disgraced CEO watches wife's triumph from afar. Inside shelter pod 001, Naomi knelt with a boy tracing sunlight patches on the floor. Boy, Auntie, is this my house now? Naomi, for as long as you need. Then another family will borrow it. Boy, I'll take care of it. She ruffled his hair, heart swelling. Then Kofi burst in, waving his tablet. Kofi, sis, Zenith wired the first 200 million. Funds cleared. Naomi, then order steel. This city is about to change its skyline. Applause echoed from outside, but Naomi's gaze lifted above the pods, imagining dozens more peppering vacant lots like seeds. A vibration in her pocket. Text from her lawyer, divorce papers ready to file. Serve copy to Mr. Mensa today. She pocketed the phone, took a long breath of dust, sun, and fresh paint, and stepped into the courtyard where volunteers hammered, children laughed, and possibility rang louder than any champagne toast. As she crossed the threshold, thunder rumbled on the horizon, harmattan storm rolling in fast. Naomi smiled. Storms tested structures. Hers would stand. Fade out. 3 weeks after the ribbon cutting, Naomi's modular village bustled like a living organism. Solar lanterns flicked on at dusk. Muralists splashed color at dawn. Children's laughter stitched every alley. Yet outside its fenced Lagos gossip pages still revolved around hashtag Mensa Meltdown. Zenith's comms team suggested a definitive press conference. Naomi preferred proof. Kofi delivered it. Kofi, you remember the night you found Lana's bracelet? CCTV at a lair never deletes footage. They just archive. I greased a waiter. Naomi, show me. She watched on a laptop. Darren sliding the ring onto Lana's finger. Lana whisper kissing him, both mocking my unsuspecting saint of a wife. Sound quality was tinny, but the betrayal's flavor was clear. Naomi steepled her fingers. We air it once. Then we move on to construction updates. They chose Impact Now, a primetime broadcast hosted by veteran journalist Adeobi Nwachukwu, a woman famous for filleting corrupt politicians on live TV. Adeobi agreed to a double segment. First, Naomi's shelter expansion, then a short clip that contextualizes her decision to seek divorce. The studio smelled of ozone and hairspray. Naomi wore cobalt ochre with steel gray piping, architectural but warm. Adeobi's first questions glowed. Budget transparency, volunteer management, expansion into Port Harcourt. Naomi's answers clicked like well-set tiles. Viewers tweeted praise in real time. Then Adeobi cued the clip. The screen behind them bloomed with restaurant footage. Gasps rippled through the studio audience. On social, the clip rocketed across feeds. When camera cut back, Adeobi kept her voice velvet soft. Adeobi, that tape was dated 2 nights before your gala victory. Your reaction? Naomi, betrayal can feel like demolition, but demolition clears land for better foundations. Adeobi, what foundation are you laying tonight? Naomi, one where women refuse to apologize for outgrowing cages, public or private. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag dishonor exposed. Hashtag build back better. Across town, Darren watched from a penthouse that felt cavernous since Lana's abrupt move to a hotel. His phone buzzed with board members demanding explanations. He paced until a push notification announced Zenith had suspended his keynote slot at their upcoming tech summit, pending reputational review. The camera cut back to Naomi who, instead of basking in vindication, appealed for donations to double shelter capacity. Within an hour, 37 million hit the NGO's account. The affair was exposed, but the real headline was that betrayal had become a bulldozer Naomi aimed toward progress. Morning haze modeled the glass facade of the city's civic center where the West Africa Innovation Summit prepared to open. Darren had spent 5 sleepless nights lobbying to keep his keynote. At dawn, he received a compromise. Speak on a panel titled Resilience After Crisis, alongside none other than Naomi Gray. Security escorted Naomi through a side entrance. She wore a tailored white suit whose lapels folded like origami, symbolic peace, but razor-sharp edges. Backstage, she reviewed slides of offshore wind-powered shelters. Next to her, Darren rehearsed contrition into a mirror. Darren, Naomi, we can still appear united. Investors favor reconciliation arcs. Naomi, your investors. My investors favor integrity. Darren, I'll apologize publicly. Shake hands, we pivot. Naomi, you mistake closure for content. On stage, the moderator, a futurist with neon braids, welcomed them. Darren spoke first, voice tremoring. Failure teaches humility. Tonight I salute those who helped me learn. Polite applause. He turned, extended his hand toward Naomi as cameras zoomed. Naomi rose, letting the pause stretch. She clasped the podium instead. Naomi, true resilience is repairing the harm you caused, not rehabbing the optics. The shelters we build accept everyone. But first they remove doors that lock from the outside. She pivoted to her presentation. Real-time drone footage of women moving into newly finished Port Harcourt pods. Applause thundered. Darren's hand hung in midair, then dropped like a severed cable. The Summit social ticker tallied engagement. Naomi's clip 2.3 million views in under 10 minutes. Darren's 48K and falling. Backstage, a venture philanthropy rep cornered Naomi. Rep, our fund backs scalable social infrastructure. May we table an 8-figure term sheet? Naomi, email Kofi the specifics. My schedule's now. Open. She glanced at Darren, being shepherded out by staff, eyes blank. She did not reach to console him. She architected distance. Week's End found Naomi in Zenith Sky Suite boardroom, glass walls framing a storm-teased lagoon. Ms. Ocon chaired a session of bankers, NGO leads, and a World Bank envoy. They draft a blueprint for 50 shelter villages across 5 nations. Before opening bids, Ocon slid a sealed envelope toward Naomi. Ocon, a directorship on Zenith Social Impact Board. 6-year term, stock options pegged to shelter milestones. Naomi, that's generous, but I won't rubber stamp projects I don't oversee. Ocon, full autonomy clause included. As Naomi signed, her phone buzzed. Darren. She ignored it once, twice. The third time she answered on speaker, surprising the room. Darren, I'm downstairs. Need 5 minutes, important. Naomi, I'm in a meeting with people paying for integrity. Speak plainly. Darren, I'm being pushed out as CEO. The board meets Monday. If you vouch, they'll keep me. Please. Naomi, Monday I'm breaking ground in Kano. You once said real builders need funding. I found plenty. Darren, Naomi, don't do this. Naomi, I'm not doing anything. Action simply matured into consequences. She ended the call. Board members exchanged impressed looks. World Bank envoy. That was the sound of an old order collapsing. Naomi, and affordable walls rising. They broke for lunch. Naomi stepped onto the terrace. Rain needled the lagoon. Thunder graveled overhead. She inhaled petrichor, the scent of promises about to be planted. Below, Darren sat in his car watching the Sky Suite lights dim. His phone vibrated with a final notification. Board agenda revised. CEO transition vote. No mention of him as candidate. The High Court's marble atrium echoed with heels and hashtags. Kofi's camera crew streamed via 5G, overlaying live comment emojis. Naomi arrived flanked by Chinyu the lawyer and Mama Sua. Darren stood near the clerk's desk, cheeks hollow, suit hanging looser than weeks ago. Lana was nowhere. Rumor had her negotiating a tell-all book deal. Proceedings were brisk. Irreconcilable differences, adultery substantiated, prenup clauses triggered. Chinyu submitted offshore account screenshots. Darren's counsel offered no rebuttal. Judge Adeyemi, stern but motherly, addressed Darren. Judge, do you object to the expedited decree? Darren, no, my lord. Judge, then this court dissolves the union of Darren Tun Mensah and Naomi Folashade Mensah forthwith. Gavel struck wood. 1,000 livestream hearts burst upward on Kofi's feed. Outside, reporters thrust mics. Journalist, Ms. Gray, any final words? Naomi, every blueprint revises after stress tests. Today, a flawed design was retired. She held no bitterness in her eyes, only relief. Darren emerged moments later, statement ready. I wish Naomi well. But mid-sentence his phone pinged, stock ticker alert. His company shares halted, board voted him out. Cameras captured the precise instant his shoulders sagged. The feed spliced screen and screen, Naomi signing autographs at the gate. Hashtag Naomi Gray final dropped like rain across Twitter. Within an hour it trended #1 globally, eclipsing an AFCON qualifier. Influencers stitched her quote into TikTok reels. Universities invited her to commencement podiums. That night Naomi returned to ShelterPod 001. Children presented a cardboard medal, World's Strongest Builder. She laughed, tears finally spilling. 6 months later, Kano's dawn unfurled in saffron and rose as Naomi stood on a ridge overlooking a construction site 10 times the size of her first village. Hundreds of half-moon roofs shimmered, wind turbines whirred like distant drums. A freshwater pipeline snaked toward boreholes. Above the entrance arch, workers mounted a plaque, Grey Haven, a place to begin again. Zara, now head of Shelter Aesthetics, handed Naomi a white hard hat stenciled Chief Architect. Mama Sua arrived with flasks of Zobo, flanked by Aunt Folake brandishing a portable speaker tuned to Sunny Adewale's High Life. Mama Sua, you poured courage into concrete. Naomi, and you poured courage into me. Kofi droned overhead footage. Ms. Okon waved from a landing helipad with UN Habitat delegates. Then a hush fell. A sleek black sedan stopped beyond the security cordon. Darren stepped out. Thinner, no entourage, suit swapped for modest blazer. Security looked to Naomi. She nodded once. Darren approached the fence, eyes on the immense village. Darren, I came to see what you built. It's beautiful. Naomi, it's useful. Beauty is a byproduct. He swallowed. I'm teaching entrepreneurship workshops at a community college. Starting again. Naomi studied him, no triumph, no spite, only distant recognition. Naomi, then build well. Foundations matter. He extended a hand, this time not for cameras. She considered, then shook it briefly, granting a closure he hadn't earned, but she no longer needed. He left without asking for more. Kofi landed the drone. Screens showed live comments at a bike rides. Never seen redemption built from steel like this. At Next Gen Arch, Grey Haven should replace case studies in architecture courses. Sun climbed. Naomi climbed the stage as workers gathered. Naomi, 6 months ago a storm tested us. Today we raise rooftops that will outlast storms we cannot yet imagine. Remember, every seed we plant, each solar tile, each bamboo beam, proclaims that safety is not a luxury, but a human right. Applause thundered. Turbine blades spun faster in the morning breeze, as if applauding back. Later, alone in her on-site prefab office, Naomi unrolled a personal plan. A coastal home she designed for herself, slanted walls catching ocean winds, a studio open to the sky, a kitchen big enough for Mama Sua's pepper soup experiments. She penciled in structural notes, then paused to inscribe 2 words across the title block, for me. Her phone pinged. World Architecture Forum requests keynote. She smiled, saved the drawing, and powered down. Outside, kids raced bikes along gravel lanes. Women painted new murals, this time of a figure in a white suit with origami lapels, arms outstretched toward a sunrise. Naomi stepped into the light, inhaling dust, paint, fried akara from the communal kitchen. None of the scents smelled of Darren, regret, or champagne. They smelled of steel cooling, earth settling, futures curing in the sun. She exhaled and began her walk across Grey Haven, no longer a survivor of demolition, but the architect of a continent-wide blueprint for dignity. Fade to wide shot, drone rising, roofs glinting like scales of a colossal phoenix. Roll and credits. The end.